Hi, and welcome to the 7th of the series tutorials on collecting and visualizing urban informatics and modelling data. This tutorial will teach you how to alter building shapes using the built-in modifiers of 3ds Max. Once you've opened a 3ds Max file, select an object and draw a few shapes. Once you've drawn a few shapes, select one of them, go to the Modify tab, and adjust the segments. Now, in order to see the segments appear, you'll need to change the default shading. You'll need to change the default shading to edged faces, and you'll be able to see them. Selecting another one, and doing the same thing. As you can see, the cylinders it's already applied, so you can edit those ones or leave them as they are. Select your first object and go to the Modify tab, selecting the drop-down Modify list and typing in twist. Now the twist modifier is the first modifier we are going to use, and the twist modifier basically produces a twirl effect on the shape. So it will produce a twirl on this square box. Under the parameters, selecting the angle, you can adjust it up or down. As the numbers go up, the twist will begin, and as the numbers go down, the twist will reverse, going the opposite way into the negative numbers. As you can see, if I go down, it's twisting one way, and the lower I go, the more dramatic the twist. And then again, resetting and going higher, same effect, but twirling it the other way around. The higher the numbers, the more dramatic on the twist. Now you can also set the twirl axis to Z, Y, or X. So currently we're on the Z axis, and it looks like some form of building set. It looks somewhat as a building form. Whereas if you select it again and change it to X or to Y, it flips it along the axis selected and gives you some interesting shapes. I'm going to keep it to the Z, so it is looking more like a building form. Selecting a cylinder, going back into the Modify tab, typing taper. The taper modifier is the next modifier we are going to use, which produces a taper contour by scaling both ends of an object's geometry. One end is scaled up while the other is scaled down. As you can see here under the parameters, we've got the same thing. We've got the taper amount and the curve. So by adjusting the amount, going up, you can see that the taper is scaled up at the top and down at the bottom. And then by reversing that into the negatives, it's tapered in towards the top. And then the more dramatic you do it, you get that cross. The curve you can also apply. So by going down into the negatives, it will suck it in, looking more like a tabletop. And then by going up higher by numbers, it will bulge it out. At any time, if you want to change the parameters of the cylinder, under the Modify tab, just select Cylinder, and you'll be able to change the height and the radius of your shape. And then by selecting Taper again, you can go back into those editing tools. As the previous one, you do have the X, Y, and Z, so you can select either one of those to see what shapes it can produce and how that looks also. By selecting the second cylinder and again applying the taper tool, this one will have the opposite effect. So we can pull the amount in so it tapers at the top, widens at the bottom, and then we can push the curve out rather than in so it bulges on the edges there. Again, you can use the X, Y, or Z axis. Now with this square, what I'm going to do, we're going to draw another one opposite it so we can connect two buildings with a bridge. So by drawing an additional square or box, what we want to do is right click on one of them. So I'm going to right click on the larger one and go down to convert to editable poly. You'll see the dialog box pop up on the right. You then want to select the opposite square . Then you'll need to select the box you haven't already selected so that attaches to the first one, and as you can see that changed colour. Scrolling back up to the selections and selecting the square polygon, then scrolling down to edit polygons. We want to select the square option, which is the... Then by scrolling back up in the panel, edit poly panel, under selection, select polygon. Then scrolling down slightly, under edit polygons and bridge, we want to select the settings box next to it. Now what this does is brings up a setting in your viewport. So once we do draw the bridge across, as shown before, we can use tapers and twists and apply that directly to the bridge from one building to another. So by just pulling that across to the side so that it's still there and easy accessible. Now what we want to do is select faces on each of the blocks so that we can create a bridge going from one to the other. So just select individual faces, holding down Control on the keyboard and selecting the ones you're wanting. So holding down Control, and as you can see, the ones you select go red. And then spinning around and applying the same thing on the other box, selecting Control. And as you can see, as I start to click the ones on this one, the bridge is already coming across. So just sort of have to adjust your viewport to select the rest. Once you scroll out, you'll be able to see that that bridge has been applied from one building to another. So you've got that attached. Now going back to these settings, the first option here is the segment. So as we did before by applying the segments to the buildings, you can do the same thing with the bridge. So as you change the segments, you can see it being broken up into however many you type. So if we change that from 5 to 10, you've also got taper, so same thing with the buildings we've just gone through. You can change the taper up or down to taper the building bridge in the center. And then again, we also have a twist tool. So we've got twist and twist one. So by again changing the numbers up, you can twist the bridge up into the higher numbers or the negatives to apply that twist. And then twist 2 is just another sort of twist on top of that. Now you can do this as many times as you want. You can pull bridges from one segment to another or from a full face, just depending on what you want to show. All you would do again is going through and holding control, selecting your faces, and then changing that way, or applying new ones straight to them. Just ensuring that you are holding control each time you click a face. Once you're happy with the bridges that's been created, you do need to select the tick in the bridge settings, and that will apply the bridges. Another way to do this is going down to extrude and selecting the setting box next to extrude. Again, by holding control and selecting faces, you'll instantly see boxes extrude out. If we go every second one. Now they obviously aren't reaching that other box as of yet. So what this one will do is extrude it out to a certain amount, and then using the settings, you can adjust by going up or down, so you can pull them into the building. So if I change my viewport, you can see that they're being sucked in. Or you can pull the numbers up until they reach the other side. They can go through the other side completely, and they can play another role as bridges. So depending on how you're wanting to represent it, they're the two ways that you can create bridges or points of connection between two. Again, by clicking the tick, that will lock those in place and save them. And that's how you can modify buildings using the built-in modifiers. Thanks.